What hero do you think has the best win rate according to Board Game Geek stats? Right, they have a bunch of recorded plays there, and if you were to extrapolate all that data, who would have the best win rate? What hero would you guess? Doctor Strange? Would you guess Spider Ham? No, turns out it's Captain America has the best win rate, which is kind of interesting to see. Now, again, this is not like the gospel, right? Don't take this to mean that this is the absolute best tier list, the best overall, whatever. It's just people who happen to list their games and what they've played. They recorded them. It's not like an overall giant sample that should be strictly adhered to. It's just some data, and I thought it was pretty interesting to see. But Captain America had the best win rate with aggression, which was interesting because that's my least played aspect with him, which I thought was kind of interesting. Gamora was up there in leadership, which is kind of funny because I don't really picture her being good at leadership, but sure, whatever works. Then Doctor Strange, Venom, whatever. But near the bottom, but not at the bottom, is Valkyrie. That's right. She is not the worst. Let's go. Don't pay attention to this second column right here. It talks about overall win rate. Don't do that. But more importantly, below her is Quicksilver, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, which is shocking, and then Hulk. But Justice Hulk is best Hulk, which does make sense because I really do like Hulk and Justice. But it was cool to see Valkyrie doing pretty well there overall. Though someone brought up a funny point with this, and they said, oh, all we have to do is just play more Gamora leadership, right? Because the more people play it, then it'll naturally just go down and come back down the list like normal. So, the stats can be juked around and changed, but it's still fun to look at. All right, this next one is just kind of funny because they're talking about their Guardians campaign progress, which I still don't like the Guardians campaign. I like the market system. I think that's really cool. I think that's really fun, but I get their pain and I get their struggles here. So there's a whole thing that they go through right here. It's been a while since I've done the Guardians campaign, so I thought I'd give it a revisit. Was having a blast with Rocket and True Solo, but had Ronan lingering in the back of my mind. I figured that perhaps if we did well through the campaign, I would get some helpful upgrades with my credits. That's what we all think. It never happened. This would help face the monster that is Ronan. Oh boy, was I wrong. The upgrades did help, yes, but holy mother of God, the campaign seems to really help Ronan out a lot, which is very true. I did already know how much of a challenge he was, but didn't expect the campaign to make him even harder. So they talk about how he starts with an extra, face down counter card, then the environment that does all this stuff. His turn 1 attack was an attack with an extra boost card for a total of 4 encounter cards, which most have Surge, and then 3 of which have Ronan attacking again. This is so stereotypical that I hate it, but I still kind of love it. It's kind of funny. This turn 1 wipeout kept happening to me. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and after 8 attempts, I ended up getting very frustrated with how OP Ronan is. I'm gonna beat him tomorrow, no matter how many attempts or angry outbursts it takes. I just need to vent about this, and they talk about it. They talk about what hero do they use to take on Ronan. Now, for me personally, for Ronan, I have on expert and expert campaign, I've only ever beaten him with a rush strategy. So I've beaten him with Star-Lord using a rush strategy, which actually works pretty well, but you have to do it in 3 turns. Past that, you're done for. And I've done it with Captain Marvel with a rush strategy, and I think that's it. Now, some people have said Nova can do it with a rush strategy, and I would believe it because you can get him going pretty darn fast. But past that, there's not too many heroes that could truly take on Ronan. And this has been my biggest complaint with him of all time, was just that he starts at a difficulty of 11, and through the game, he should drop down to a 7 difficulty, right? You should get a little bit easier. Instead, he goes up to a 12. It's ridiculous. They should have tested this better. They should have figured this out. Maybe it's our fault for complaining way back in the day that Red Skull was way too easy. And then, they did this to us. Hey, really quick, if you're enjoying this video and you like it, do me a huge favor. Hit the like button, because I don't know how many people watch the middle part. I feel like they skip a lot. So if you hit the like button now, I'll know that you watched it. And that's really cool because that helps me out and that lets me know that this is pretty interesting content and it's worth, this section is decent. So hit that like button. Thanks. All right, the last thing to go over is taboo lists. Now, this is a pretty popular thing over on Arkham Horror. They've been doing it for a long time. They've been doing it pretty well, to be honest. But they asked, would you like to see a taboo list like Arkham Horror LCG on Marvel Champions? And a lot of people didn't know what that was. Fair enough. I personally voted nope on it because I don't want to see it, and I'll get into that in a second. And some people voted yes. And there's a bunch of comments below, but just so that you know what it looks like, this is what the taboo sheet looks like. Right, it's a list of taboos. It's not too crazy, and it's pretty easy, pretty basic. Double or Nothing is the one interesting card, which we could break up in a second. But to give you an example, they give you printed versions of the cards, and it shows you that this card was mutated, right? And it was mutated because it was changed. This is what the card originally looked like. After you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource on Dr. Millen Christopher. Now it's exhaust him, and you gain 1 resource. So for example, the one card that was completely banned on the list is Double or Nothing, right? This is from the Dunwich Legacy. It's max 1 committed per skill test, double the difficulty of the skill test. If this skill test is successful, resolve the effects of the success test twice. It's a grossly good card. So personally, I'm not a big fan of taboo lists in general as a content creator and even as a player. You see, as a player, we have enough rules and things to worry about that I just want to get my game and I want to play it. Now, I don't know if doing a second release expansion with updated cards is better or worse. I think you just kind of have to live with the mistakes and move on. I don't want to have to, okay, play a card and then look, oh, is it on the list? And then do these printed out cards and like slide it, I guess, under the sleeve in front of the card that I would normally have there. It's all weird and kind of convoluted and I don't really like it. Also, it puts up or starts this whole issue of, let's say you're playing with the old rules and not the taboo list, and somebody else is watching your game. Well, there's a good chance that they'll see that and they'll say, well, you know, you're not actually playing with the current rules, so your win or your good performance doesn't actually count. You have to play with the taboo list. And I know most people would be like, well, I don't care about that. But the thing is, deep down, you might, right? You might care a little bit. You might play with other people who do care about that list. Now you have to change it. And then content creators that you watch may be doing that or may not be doing it. I get why you would want a taboo list to, you know, even things out, because things over time will become unbalanced. It's just natural. You can't make a perfect game for 10 years straight. It won't work that way. But at the same exact time, I think you just have to work with the flaws of what it is. So some people say, why don't you just have the option to have it? I get the argument for that, but at the same exact time, I think there's gonna be so much pressure from the community that you're either playing it wrong or you're playing right, and then it just becomes a more hostile thing over little small changes that, yeah, make a difference, but they're not like a massive difference overall. Now, if you really like this week's Reddit reply, make sure to check out this week's Reddit reply. This was last week where we talked about the hardest final villains in each box of Marvel Champions. It was a pretty cool discussion. It was pretty interesting. And if you really like this content and you made it this far, please consider giving a subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. Take care.